Because then you have the actual file on your computer. You don't have to go look for it.
We are now recording.
Hello.
All right. I'm going to count down here and then we'll get started. Okay. Welcome everyone to episode number 7, our first interview. Thank you so much for being here. Today I'm really excited to welcome our first guest, Miss Alisha Browne, who is the owner and operator of Atlantic Boudoir. Welcome to the Soul Driven podcast, Alisha.
Thank you for having me, Anna. I was so honored when you asked me to be your first guest. I mean, just a little bit of pressure, but it's okay.
It's all good. It's all good. Yes, I'm super excited to have you as my first guest. I have like a list of folks and I was like, oh, Alisha, she would be perfect. And just for the folks at home, you've got 2 Sagittarian marketers here.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a lot of fun. So Alisha and I met about a year ago through a mutual marketing friend, and I've had the pleasure of watching her business grow for been like over a year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I've been involved in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so excited to share all of this with you. But before we jump into the interview, I have one kind of ask of our audience. And this is, I just want to ask you to please not forget to support one another right now while we're getting ready to have an awesome podcast and talk about all kinds of cool things. The coronavirus is very real. Both Alisha and I are small business owners, and all of us are being affected by this in various ways. So check on your neighbors, definitely check on your elderly neighbors, and please support your local businesses because we all need that right now. And that's all I have to say about that. So, okay, let's dive in. So, Miss Alisha, again, I just want to thank you for being here. I am very excited to share your story with our audience. And kind of the first place I want to start is I'm going to be setting this tradition with you. Okay. So the first question is, what makes you soul driven?
Well, when you told me you were going to ask me that, thank you, by the way, I was thinking about what it really means to me. And I think that, well, I remember hearing something like probably a year ago or so, and it really stuck with me, and it kind of has changed the way I approached this journey I began on in 2018. But it said something like, think back to what you did when you were a kid and you were playing and you were just having the best time before anyone told you what you should like, what you should be doing, how you should be spending your time, and then go do that. And as soon as I read that or heard that, I honestly can't even remember which, I've just thought about that because that is so true. Because, you know, when you get lost doing something that you really enjoy, that's, I think, how you know you're doing something that's related to your soul's purpose, because everything else is kind of just filler. So that's how I feel about the journey I'm on, even though, you know, not all parts of it are soul fulfilling. But I think every day I've been working more towards life is not just about working and getting through each day. Like, I really want to be living each day, not just surviving it. So that's something that I'm working on like constantly in my life.
Which is awesome. I mean, like, I always say one life. And so, but I can't say that I'm always living one life. So I love it. I love hearing from you that this is what you're doing. And this is certainly what you get to do with your business. I think that's awesome. I've definitely heard the quote or whatever somewhere. And I always think back and I'm like, so how can I like translate or whatever, like climbing trees and running through woods and chasing down snakes into what I do as an adult?
Yeah, it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
I need help narrowing that down.
Yeah. I'm sure there's people who are really good at making that connection, and I would love to talk to them. But yeah, you know, there's something, you know, it's like it's at the root of that for you. It's not like, well, I guess I got to go work like in a nature reserve or something. It's more like the reason why you loved doing that so much is connected to something that you could be doing, and it would evoke the same kind of purpose and emotion for you, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, and I loved what you said too about the fact that when you kind of get lost in whatever it is that you're doing, that is letting you know, right, that you're doing something that connects with your soul purpose.
Exactly.
So I feel like maybe just as kids, our purpose then was just to kind of be kids,
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoy ourselves, whatever it was that we were doing. But as
That's true.
adults, maybe that's really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I call it like chasing the, well, I clearly don't call it that enough because I can't remember it. um, like chasing the joy. It's not what it is. It'll come back to me. But whenever I get lost, I mean, that's been one of the things with this podcast that has been so much fun. Even though I have to like write out all these notes before I get it, by the time I sit down to it and everything, I mean, like, I have no problem. I could give hours and hours away to this. It's really enjoyable for me. So I totally get that. I think that that's kind of where the crux of it all is, right?
I agree, because if you're not feeling like that way at least some parts of your life, then kind of like, what's the point? So you're not going to feel that way all the time. Life is hard. But if you can at least find things that do make you feel that way, it kind of, I think it's kind of finding the purpose of living your life. So
Yes. And let's reiterate, what is the point?
yeah.
Even if you're not doing it full time. I mean, even if this is something like, obviously this podcast is not my full-time job, but it certainly feeds every other area of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. So we're going to talk all things Atlantic Boudoir, but first I want to jump into your background a little bit more. And would you mind sharing some about that with us?
Yeah, not at all. So how far back do you want me to go?
Whatever you would like,
Okay.
whatever you think.
Well, I'm not a Southerner originally, if you can't tell. I am from New Hampshire. I grew up there. I went to school in Boston, and pretty much all my family still lives up here. I moved down to Wilmington in 2010 after graduating school, just kind of for a fresh start. I had been to Wilmington before, and when I visited there, I think it was probably about like 2006 or 7 when I visited North Carolina. I just felt like a really strong connection to it. And it was probably, I mean, I grew up on the water, but it was something different about here and like the lifestyle and stuff. And I never kicked it. And so once I just like trusted my gut when I graduated school, and I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And I 100% believe that it was the right choice, because everything, like the way my life has unfolded since then, it's made it very clear. So that's something I would always tell people is like, if you have this like deep feeling, it kind of goes back to that beginning story about when you're a kid, like you should trust your instincts for sure.
Yeah,
So that's why I ended up here, is my gut.
that's awesome. Yeah, when I first came to Wilmington, I was only going to be here for 2 months.
Mm,
And, but everything just kind of fell into place. And it was weird. I mean, I've lived all over the world, and that's never happened before. Like, I'd never felt that way before. And I definitely, like 4 years later, can say, and now I totally know why I was
mhm.
supposed to come to this place for sure.
Isn't
And
that
be
amazing when you trust the universe?
You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. I mean, I think with Sagittarians too, like we do that a lot easier than other people.
I'm glad. I didn't know that, but if I didn't listen to my instincts, then I don't know where I'd be. So,
Yeah. Well, I think our ability to kind of connect with that part of ourselves, again, just kind of comes a little bit easy. Like, it doesn't quiet down for us. I
no,
feel
it
like
doesn't.
it's like, yo, do the
Yeah.
thing, do this.
You're like, that thought you had? Yeah. Now you're obsessed with it. You're welcome.
Not gonna leave you alone.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. And it's part of what drives me. It must be what I'm very like driven, like to the point of obsession, which I think is a good thing and also a bad thing. because I need to learn how to relax a little better, but I do get very like hooked on ideas, and like I do not stop until they come to fruition. So that
Which is why your business has been so fun to watch, because of all the creative things you've been
because
doing.
I'm a crazy person.
Creative.
Creative, crazy person. Yeah.
So I know you were doing marketing for what, like 10 years?
Yeah.
Like you just went full time with your boudoir
Yes.
business.
Yes.
So as a marketer, I'm curious to know like
Mhm.
how you kind of got into marketing,
Mhm.
and then why it wasn't the thing for you.
So I like to think that, growing up, I was always like, I've really always been into photography and images, and I would spend like hours making photo albums and scrapbooks and everything for of images of my friends and family and the places I've traveled, because I always
Mhm.
thought that that was so important to have photos, because they capture memories and like emotions forever. It's like the only thing that does that, I guess, besides video too. But so it's always important to me, and I always got lost in that. But I guess when you're growing up without anyone else in your family who does anything like that, and also growing up without a lot of money, I think you're always thinking about, well, what can I do to make my situation like better, and what can I do differently in the future? And I guess utilizing my creative side was never an option for me as far as a career. It never crossed my mind that I should pursue something like that. So I went to business school, which totally glad I did. Went to a really good business school, and I love business too. And now I own my own business, so that helped me a lot. But I think that I didn't start down the path of photography for that reason. And it also was meant to be that way, because I wouldn't trade like my business background for anything. So naturally, going to a business school, it's known for accounting and finance majors, I picked the most creative major they had, which was technically called information design and corporate communication and marketing. And so that's kind of how I ended up there, the most creative side of business I could get in. And yeah, I've worked in the marketing field in a lot of different roles. Since college, really random things like I started as a marketing intern at Zoo New England in Boston, in Dorchester actually, and I thought all I wanted was to work with animals, and so I was like, well, then I can work at the zoo. And I did that for a while. I've been the marketing director for a custom tour operator. I love
Mm.
travel. That was a really cool period of my life. My first job in Wilmington was the catering and marketing manager for Zoe's Kitchen. I got that job through phone interviews so I could move down here. And thank God I did, because not a lot of options in Wilmington. So loved
No.
doing that too. So I've done sales. I've done like so many different things, but all in the marketing realm in some way. And as you know, the marketing space changes so much with technology and trends. And so I'm like always learning, was always learning. And I think that's what kept me in it for so long, because it's really challenging and exciting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, marketing won't bore you.
No, that's for sure.
It can
No,
do a lot of other things, but boring will not be one.
no. I
So
don't
I
know if I just
know,
answered your question, honestly.
oh, you totally did.
Okay, I don't
Absolutely.
remember.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was really intrigued about, kind of talking about how when you were younger that you loved all this, that cameras were always a thing for you, that photography was always a
Mhm.
thing for you, that you loved doing this. It's so interesting to me that this happens, that as children, our creativity always kind of gets set aside for the things that make money.
Mhm.
Um, I know you're a mom, and is this something that you're cognizant of with you have a son, correct?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, he's only 2.5 right now. So he,
Finger paints.
yeah, so there's not so much that, yeah, I definitely want him to be able to tap into his creativity. So it'll be interesting. He's my only child, our only child. I don't know how, as he gets older, hopefully, me and my husband will be role models for him as far as like doing something that you want to do and being successful and not putting aside your passions. And that's hopefully an example I can set for him. But it's hard for me to say until he starts like trying to make choices about how he spends his time, how I'm going to direct that. But it is, I mean, it's funny because I was always so into, I guess, photography, you know, like starting pretty young. And I never had, like, there was a certain point, I think the nicest camera I ever had before I kind of like stopped doing anything with that was that a Sony Cybershot digital camera that I brought to Italy when I studied abroad and lived there for a while, and took all my photos with that little camera. And that was like the nicest camera I ever got to have. And then after that, you know, it was always just something fun I did. And it never, ever crossed my mind at any point, like, hey, maybe you should like take a class in this, or maybe you should spend more time working on this, because it just was never an option for me. It just was like, that would be silly. So no one ever taught me until when we get to that point of the story that someone told me it could be an option. It was just something that I put to the side and kind of forgot about for a long time.
It's so interesting to me because it's, I mean, the even though you didn't follow that path then, even though you didn't, like, someone didn't direct you there, I mean, that's why, like, I love the universe so much, is like, because you can't fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is clearly what you were meant to do. So you took a different path, you went a different way, but then you get to the other side where if you had gone on this direct path to it, you wouldn't have had the business background. You wouldn't have been an amazing marketer, which for most creatives, I know, you know, I mean, in my business, since I launched it in 2012, the number one thing that creatives, and I think kind of just business owners in general, struggle with is being able to market their business.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the ability to be creative and market, you know?
Yeah. That's a huge advantage, honestly. And in like the mastermind classes I'm in with other photographers, those that just went straight into the creative side, I forget that not everyone has the experience of a business education or working in business. And so they have to learn that stuff either like on their own or as they go. And so that's a definite advantage I have. And that's why I say I'm ultimately really glad I went to business school and ended up the way I did, because I probably wouldn't be here. So
yeah. Well, I think it's just it's just a testament to, regardless of what path we take, you know, we're going to end up where we're supposed to be.
If you trust your gut.
Oh, I got tangled up in my headphones there.
You told me you were animated. I see it.
So let's talk about boudoir photography. Like, how did you get into this?
So yeah, this is again a story about like weird coincidence. And I'm probably gonna be so sick of hearing me about trusting your gut, but
No.
you know, I moved to Wilmington. I met my now husband about a year later. He had moved up from Florida randomly, and we met. We moved into a condo together, try to make the story short, in Carolina Beach. And we sublet from this girl. It was on Craigslist. We met her. She was from New Hampshire, from like an hour where I grew up. Had never met her before. We became friends with her and her boyfriend. She was a photographer. Fast forward, like 2 more years, Pete and I got engaged. We hired Kelly for our wedding photography, and she was still living in Carolina Beach or in Wilmington. And she said, would you like me to take boudoir portraits for you before your wedding? And I'm like, sure, like that sounds fun. I never really thought about that. So she did. And she was just starting the boudoir side of her business because she was mainly weddings and engagements and everything. And I saw the images after, you know, she sent them to me, and I was like, holy shit, I feel amazing. Like, this is fun. And it kind of like planted this little seed in my head. So fast forward, she actually moved back to New Hampshire, and she switched her business she got out of weddings and everything else and just opened her own studio in New Hampshire, and is super successful with boudoir portraits only. And so during that time of like the growth between however many years that was, I just watched her grow her business. I was part of her Facebook group. And I was always like, she's so inspiring. because she like went all in as a business owner. She's doing something she loves. And I was seeing how she was impacting the women in her group who got portraits taken by her. Like their confidence was soaring. They were just, it was such a cool community. And I was like, so jealous, want to be in that. So I always joked with her. I'm like, hey, do you need a marketing person? Like, but 1,000 miles away. Like, is that cool? And she did. But then one day I just messaged her. I said, because I've always wanted to own my own business too. And I said, Kelly, let me open a branch of your studio down here since you're doing so well up there. And she said, who would be the photographer? And I said, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And she's like, you're going to do it. And I said, no, I'm not. That's dumb. I can't do that. And she said, yes, you can. And she's like, it's not going to be mine. It's going to be yours. And
love that.
Immediately, I remember I was actually on my way home from a Beyonce concert with my sister. And I was talking with Kelly in the car. And I remember just looking at my sister and being like, Kelly says I should do this. And I was just like on fire. And like from that moment on, it was such like a stretch for me. I'm like, in what world do I think this would be possible? I don't. But I was so fired up. You know, I got home, I told my husband about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And Kelly changed my life because she was my mentor and she helped me get this off the ground. Because she's like, if you want it, you can accomplish it. And she has mentored me, and all the mistakes, you know, she made, I didn't have to make. All the things that she learned from being in business, she taught me. And so having someone who like cared so much about and believed in my success like that was really the catalyst. People, if you have someone who believes in you that you can do it, then that's sometimes the extra push you need to make like a big scary change like that. Because it was terrifying. It's been a terrifying ride.
That's really powerful though. I mean, and I have so much to say about so much of what you say. Like, calm down. Let me start over.
I see it on your face, and I'm loving
it. First, I think that's just really powerful. I mean, the ability that we have to speak life into other people is so huge, and I don't think that people take that seriously, especially when it comes to something like this. You know, when we are speaking life into people about how they look or what they do that inspires you, I mean, like, you just never know how that's going to take shape. And then how blessed are you to have this, you know, woman like take you under her wing and show you how to build a business. And I mean, that's huge. Everyone, if mentors are, I have never had one. I would love to have one. I think I'm a little bit too stubborn for one, maybe. Not sure. But every person that I've met who's had a mentor, I mean, it's just been totally life-changing for them.
It really has been the biggest impact of anything that I could do. Like, you obviously have to put in the work and you have to believe in yourself. You can't just have other people believing in you, or else nothing's going to happen. But yeah, a mentor who knows what they're talking about and stands behind you makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, it's 100% up to the individual. Like, she just gave you the permission, you know, in the beginning. You got to do all the work. So did you take like photography classes along the way, or like how did you hone this? Because I know like boudoir photography is very different, and I guess maybe we should explain what boudoir photography is, just in case we've gotten this far, no one and someone doesn't know.
I just realized that. I'm like, you know, we could, people would be like, what the hell are they talking about? So I sometimes, I don't know if I like calling it this, but I usually summarize boudoir portraits as like, I don't even want to say it this way, but like Victoria's Secret pictures for the everyday woman.
No, we need to work on your branding,
I
girl.
take pictures of people in their underwear or whatever they're comfortable in. So it sounds like such a funny, like, I don't know, superficial concept, but the best part of it is that it's really not. It's not superficial. So, yeah. So anyway, that's what boudoir portraits are. But yeah, it is a very specialized niche because it's about the experience. It's a very vulnerable experience. And so you have to be good at having people be comfortable with you and trust you. And then the other big part is obviously like the posing.
Yeah.
for every body type. So as far as you're asking how I learned, I mean, I learned from Kelly. I'm in a mastermind class for photographers. I YouTube. I read books. I practice. That's really essentially how I like honed to the point that I felt confident like taking those types of portraits of women.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw also the video that's on your website. I don't know if it's under about, maybe not, but the like,
The experience.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed how much you were giving direction.
Oh
Cause
yeah.
like, and I thought that was awesome. Cause like for someone like me, I would get in there and like, I wouldn't know what to do.
Okay, that's what I tell women. No one knows how to pose. So,
Sparkly
but you're
hands.
also a
Like,
boudoir photographer. So that's what women I think are most scared of. They're like, I'm so awkward. I'm not photogenic. I'm like, who said you're awkward, first of all? And second of all, I pose you the whole time, like your fingers to your toes. So no one has to worry about like having experience posing for portraits. Like that is not their job. That is my job. So you don't have to know how to do anything except listen to me.
can you follow directions?
Yes. And some people are better than others, but honestly, everyone everyone wants to do what I'm asking. So everyone's trying their best regardless. And we have a really good time doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah, it looked to be very natural in regards to like I know like in your video you were explaining how I guess when they do one thing like they breathe out and they're like, so this is gonna seem really strange, but
mouth breathers, I always say that.
are there different kinds of like do the poses in regards to kind of how you help set them up? Trying to think of what my question is here. Do they do they change depending on like the woman, or are they kind of like general poses, or like how does that work?
I do have like pretty much a general posing flow, but it definitely, depending on the woman, on the client, based on their style, what they're comfortable with, how they can move, and how they inspire me in different ways. Like we try new things all the time. So no one's going to be forced to do a pose that they're like, I really just don't want to do that. Obviously not. It's their pictures. A lot of women are open to pushing their comfort zones, which is a big part of the process, which makes it so exciting. So I'm like so proud of all my clients because they're always like, oh, that's like kind of intimidating or scary, but like I'll do it if you think I should. And I'm like, I think you'll surprise yourself. And every single time they're like, oh my God, like I love that picture. I'm like, I told you, you're hot. You just listen to me. And so this is what I go through every day. And I'm like, it's the best job to be able to tell women how like beautiful and awesome they are. And I respect them trusting me with the process like so much. Like that's one thing I can't even put into words is how much I respect that and appreciate that with my clients, because I know it's weird and I know it's scary and they're being completely vulnerable, and I appreciate that immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. I know so with the business that I shut down at the end of 2018, Anahata Swimwear, I mean, women would come in and we were doing made to measure swimwear. It was a very personalized service. You know, we would measure them, then they would try on like some of our sample suits. But I mean, like, you know, swimwear is another one of those things that's like a very vulnerable experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, quite frankly, the most awesome part of having that business was getting to see women like change in regards to how they looked at themselves in the mirror. Because we would kind of coach them in regards to being like, you know, so when you come around and to look in the mirror, like, you know, don't let your eyes go to that first place that you're like most ashamed of or that you have problems with, you know, like really allow yourself to think about how you feel in this suit, how you feel in this moment, you know, and then look. But little stuff like that. But it was I mean, that was, I think, the most awesome part of the job, because as women, we know what it's like.
Yeah.
The last thing that we want a woman to do is to feel bad about herself.
Yes, exactly.
In any kind of way.
And we're our own worst critics. So I know you saw that too. And I love how you put it, that you said first, like, think about how you feel and not just look at your problem area that you always go to. Because when I do my wardrobe fittings, and clients come try stuff on, I'm like, I want you to feel good in it. Like, so if you don't feel good in it, we're not going to wear it, and that's fine. But also then I see them looking at themselves in the mirror, and I can see them like being critical of certain areas. And I'm like, what are you worried about right now? And I'd be a super hypocrite to say like, well, I just look in the mirror and I never have any problem with anything. But when you look at other people doing it, I'm like, I don't even know what she's like worried about right now. Like, what are you concerned about? And so we all do that. And you wish you could like shake each other and be like, stop, like, stop. What are you worried about? Like, it's so unnecessary, but we all do it.
Well, and it blew me away. It was like, I talked about this all the time when in the midst of Anahata, but women would come in and they'd be like, so I've got this problem area, or I've got this thing. Like they would always tell me about this one area, like every single woman would. Right.
By the way,
like,
I have all these
prepared.
Yeah.
I got thighs, girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see them. But they would come around, from the changing area, and like, I couldn't see what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And
like,
I wasn't
great.
being nice. This was not about like, hey, like, no, like I literally couldn't see it. And it really changed how I even look at myself. And I'm with you. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm great with my body all the time, not by any means. But just that experience, I mean, when you're seeing beautiful women picking apart themselves, it really helps you to like reevaluate what it is that you're doing to yourself. Pretty powerful.
It is. That's interesting.
What kind of beliefs do you think that women allow themselves to get trapped in?
I think that we, and by I want to be like, and by we I mean me. it's me.
Probably all of us at some point.
But I think that what I see a lot is women think we have to be everything to everyone. I see women that think they can't do anything for themselves because they have to do it just for their family. So as far as self-care, spending money, literally mental health days, anything like that, they're like, well, my family needs me. Also trapped in this one we get a lot. How they feel in direct relation to their age, or comparing a size they are with a size they used to be. That is a big thing. And I feel I'm like very underqualified to like guide women in those areas, because I'm not a therapist and I'm not a counselor, but I never know really what to say, except like, we're human and our bodies change, and there's only so much we can do about it. So that's probably like, it's not like the best answer you've ever heard, but I try to be honest with them and just say, everyone has things, like everyone has wrinkles. Everyone's bodies change every year that they get older. Like, it's so normal. And it's also normal to like feel uncomfortable about it. But again, we go back to like, I just wish I could take that away from you, because it's not essential to live our lives to be like agonizing over these little details.
No, it's not. It's, I mean, I know for me, like just in the last, I would say maybe 2 years, age has definitely started actually kind of popping in my head in regards to like, ew, you've got a wrinkle there, or like, ew, like look at, you don't look the same way you used to. And one of the things I always said was that like 40 is just getting started.
Yeah. True.
But what I've really been trying to hit home with myself for like several years now is that getting older is a privilege, and not one that a lot of people get to experience, And so the fact that we're still here and we're still alive, and being just thankful for where we're at in this present time. I mean, our bodies are always going to shift and change, and I look at my younger self and I'm way hotter now. So like there's elements of that, but I mean, I think that, I think that we all just really need to, we have so much pressure on us as women too. So it's not even like it's out, it's like totally us and just our, you know, lovely brain and all this stuff. I mean, we're
It's
fed this
societal
young
influences.
age, you know, like your life's over by the time you hit 30,
Yes.
you know,
It's
like
all
you're no
downhill from
longer
here.
pretty. Yeah. Yeah.
And I hear that echoed a lot. And actually, you'll appreciate this. So I had one of my clients last year was 60, I believe. And she came in and she was going to do a shoot for her husband, who was actually even older than her, a lot older than her. And he actually wasn't well. And
I
she
love
said,
that she was going to
all
do that. I
my,
just have to say.
oh, she was amazing. So she said, all my like coworkers, you know, once they turn 50, 60, they like just give up on themselves because everyone says you should. And she says, this is the best I've ever felt in my life. Like, I'm working out. My kids are grown. I can do whatever I want. Like, I feel sexy and amazing. And I was like, I want to be you at 60. You're my role model. And so I wish more women carried through like that, because she kind of looked at it as it like, I'm just getting started. Where over and over again we hear, well, yeah, after 30, it's like, ugh, all the younger girls are where it's at, and like you have nothing to look forward to. And that's so bullshit. That is so full of shit.
It's just, but it's really hard, you know, like it's really hard to be able to beat that all back. It's kind of like the fact that I'm 38 and not married. Like every once in a while, I mean, it's just like stuff comes out of nowhere. No one in I mean, my mother actually has started to give me a hard time about that, but like no one else in my life is like, Anna, you need to get married, or, you know, like anything like that. But I mean,
Sneaks in.
it comes from nowhere. And it's like, holy crap, all of this pressure. And even with the age, it comes out of nowhere. And that's why, like, I'm really particular about who I'm following online, what I'm listening to, because like, if you're following plastic surgeons, you're going to start thinking something's wrong with you. You know, if you're like ingesting all of this like high fashion stuff, you're going to start comparing yourself. That's obviously not for everyone, but I know for me, like, I have to be cautious about what it is I am ingesting. But I don't think it has to be like, I hope to be like her, for sure. I'm going to fight my mind, and I'm going to fight that like idea. I mean, my man's 9 years younger than me, so I have to.
you have no choice. But it's true. It's not like you can just say, like, I can say that and be like, I love that. That's going to be my mindset. No, I'm going to have to fight that every day for the rest of my life. Yeah. But like, I want to try to fight to have that mindset. And I want to try to get other women to have that mindset.
So for any men who are listening, please be kind to your ladies. Tell them how beautiful they are. Chase them around the house, you know, love on them. So I definitely want to, did you say something?
No.
It was a glitch.
Yeah, it was a glitch.
I want to definitely jump into your business, because I think that, again, it's one of the reasons I wanted to interview is it has been so fascinating for me to watch you grow your business. And I have like a bajillion questions. We're not going to ask all of them. So I really have enjoyed how your creativity has just, I'm involved in your Facebook group, and you are always filling it with just interesting posts and fun polls and different ways to get women to interact and share and be vulnerable or be empowering, or like, you just, I feel like you hit on all of the places.
Thank you. I try.
Like, where, you know, like where you get your inspiration from for all of that. Like, just.
Well, the Facebook group is something that's really grown over the last year. And I've done a lot of work to grow up, because I want to have this community of women that only share essentially positive things. Although now that I say that, it's not like anyone can never write anything negative as far as like venting or asking for help or asking for advice. That's what I want it to be too. But I just went with all, like you said, you have to be careful who you're following on social media, and with things popping up in your feed, I'd rather have my positive stuff pop up in my feed in addition to that, I share my work so that other women can be more comfortable and see all types of women that get photographs taken. And then they complement each other's photos. So, you know, people aren't identified in the photos unless they want to be, but it's still a way to like see all these women loving on each other with compliments and building each other up. Like that's huge to me. So as far as inspiration I'm just always on the lookout for like women empowerment stuff. I'm in other groups that are similar to mine. So we borrow ideas from each other. Yeah, that's basically what I try to do with that space and have it connected directly to the mission of my business, which is making women, you know, feel how strong and powerful they innately are. So
I love that. I love it. It definitely shines through. I, again, have just always been so inspired by all the different kinds of things that you do, you know, and I think it kind of goes back to the fact that like, this is your passion. And so, man, you want to make it fun. You want to make it interesting. I know as a marketer, there's such a difference in marketing. You know, when you see marketing versus when you see like passion inspired marketing, right?
mm-hmm.
There's just such a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And even if an agency is doing it for you, like I feel like it comes through the business in regards to, is this a soul driven business or not? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. That it does, and it's hard to put your finger on, but it does. I think you can tell. But and also, it makes it easier in businesses like mine where there's so much emotion tied to the transaction and the experience in general. So what I like to tell people too, it's like this boudoir portraits, at least like with me and probably with a lot of photographers, it's not just about getting like beautiful pictures taken to have and like, oh, look how beautiful I am with makeup on and sexy and all that. It's so much more than that. And that's, I think, what all my marketing is wrapped around, because it's what I believe is that this experience in general going through like, because I'm pretty invested with my clients for a long period of time. It's not just like they show up, I take their pictures and they leave. Like we get to know each other. There's consultations. They have hair and makeup done at the studio. We do a pretty long shoot. We view their pictures together, all that. And I love the fact that a lot of my clients become friends, because you've probably noticed mainly in my group and my marketing, I'm pretty unapologetically myself in my weird, nerdy way. And I've decided early on that I was just going to own that, because if women are going to invest in this experience with me, they have to know me and like me, because it's very vulnerable. So I'm like, here I am. I'm pretty much an everyday woman. I'm super weird a lot. I try to be funny. I like to have a good time. I'm super emotional, extremely sensitive. And so if you resonate with me, then like I'm your girl. And that's kind of how I go about it. So I hope that comes across. And sometimes I think maybe I should be like sometimes more professional. And then I'm like, nah, I'm just I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because if people don't like me, then they don't like me, and that's okay. And like, that's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm not going to be like fake. So
It's another Sagittarius trait. I mean, honestly, I think we're just incapable of it. It's not that we don't have that thought, or maybe even we'll try it out, but then it's just like, no,
it doesn't feel good.
This is not working.
And I'm not like, this business helped me a lot come into my own self in the last year, as far as my own body image issues, my own confidence, and being kinder, like making the mind shift to be a kinder, more accepting, less judgmental person in the last year and a half has literally changed my whole outlook on everything. And it was just from me, like, it was almost like fake it till you make it at the beginning, where I'm like, I'm not positive enough, but I have to be positive. I have to lift up other women. So I'm going to really try. And then I'm like, wow, it's like working for me and for everyone else. It's like when you don't feel good and you smile, you automatically actually get a little happier. It's kind of the same thing. So that's been amazing to me, that I'm like, I've changed as a person by focusing on making other people feel good.
And that's, I mean, like, if there was ever, I feel like, a definition for connecting with like your soul purpose, or like doing your soul purpose, I would say that not only does it affect other people, but like it makes you a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Continually. It heals you. It
Mm-hmm.
like makes you more positive.
Exactly.
It was so interesting to me in the midst of my work with Anahata, how that had started happening in
Mm-hmm.
regards to like, um, because you hear like, and I know you didn't like go into your business like this either, but in regards to like the fact that you're basically healing your clients in some ways, like you're helping them get better.
I hope so, but that's a tall order. I don't
Well,
give myself that much credit. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not something like you go into your business being like, this is what I'm going to do, but like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just kind of what you end up doing. But in the midst of all of that, you end up doing that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like this circular spiralic thing that starts
Mm-hmm.
like ricocheting out and hitting other people. And then, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No,
Uh,
I totally
it just
agree.
makes everything grow in like uh, a very beautiful way.
Mm-hmm. No, I've
Um,
seen that happen a lot.
what has been the most difficult part of growing this business for you?
Probably the working multiple jobs and not giving up on myself through it. So being a wife and a mother to a toddler, um, I have a lot of areas in my life that need my attention. And I am very, like I said earlier, I'm very dedicated to my goals. And so I am always thinking about my business. I'm always working. And there's been times in the last year and a half, it's been very tough with me and my husband because he's totally supportive of this. He's like, go for it. Like, I believe you can do it. And we knew there's going to be a lot of sacrifices with me working literally all the time at nights when our son goes to bed, on the weekends, and during the day too, obviously. And it kind of was getting to us after about a year. He's like, we're just ships in the night. Like, how long is this going to go for? Like, I knew it was going to be a sacrifice, but we still need to be a family. And that hit me pretty hard, actually, because like I knew it was happening, but I was still choosing to work so hard. So I think that conversation propelled me into making a lot of changes where I'm like, you know what, the whole world isn't going to come crashing down because I don't work an extra like 3 hours tonight. I have to spend time. I have to be present, because that's another thing I struggle with. I don't know about you, but especially with everything being digital, like doing my work on my phone, I am not good at being present in the moment. I'm always thinking about the next thing. So that has been a real struggle for me as well. Like, I'm always on, and it's not healthy. So I admit that openly, and it's because I'm so determined to accomplish my goals and like have it all. So that is going to be something that I think I just have to continue working on and finding the balance depending.
You just cut out.
Oh, actually, for a second. Okay,
Yeah.
you're back.
So you were saying finding the balance of, and then you kind of cut out.
I just said finding the balance of that day, I think. So, it's not like, okay, in my life, balance is, 60% family and then like 30% business and like 10%, like how I had to pause to do that math, 10% self-care. Like every day, that ratio changes. So, hey, that's why I didn't go to school for economics or accounting. Never said I was going to do those business majors. So yeah, every day the ratios change, and you just kind of have to figure it out. And being a mom entrepreneur is definitely its own challenge. So I feel like I am never giving enough in some area of my life.
I hear that all the time.
Mm.
And it's so, I mean, like in regards to mothers being like, I feel like I'm always sacrificing if I'm, working on my business, or if
Mhm.
I'm doing something for myself or something in that nature.
Yes, always. Yeah.
So like I mentioned to you before this call, as someone who doesn't even have a goldfish and struggles, mothers are superheroes to me. They legit are just like everything. I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, they are superheroes.
Well, thanks. We're figuring it out one day at a time. No one knows what they're doing.
Well, y'all do it so well, though. That's the thing, you know.
That's what social media shows you.
But no, I think it's just, you know, mothers don't give themselves enough credit for
We don't.
how multi-talented they are. You know, I mean, it blows my mind. The older I get, the more I see that, and the more I'm just like, ladies, holy crap, you know.
You know what my husband and I like to say sometimes? We're like, what did we do before our son was born? Like literally, what did we do with the hours and hours of our life? And it's so funny because at the time you weren't like, I'm bored. Like we need a hobby. We were busy. But now we have a human we're raising. And I'm like, I don't know. But it's your mind shift just changes to be like survival. This is the way it is now. So
yeah, it is. It's just the way it is. What kind of things have you been doing to balance that out more?
In theory, I'm supposed to be putting my phone in a basket when I pick up my son from daycare until he goes to bed. I will be first to admit I haven't been doing that, but that is a goal of mine. I have, since I've been able to go more full time now and not have so many other jobs or jobs at all, I have really tried to stop working at night unless I'm doing phone consults because, you know, I try to be flexible with women's work schedules. On the weekends, I don't do shoots on the weekends anymore. I try not to do as many calls on the weekends. So setting up barriers there. And I'm actually going to be moving into a new studio space. Right now, I have a home-based studio, probably important to say. Another way that my home life and business life is connected. So I wanted to take a step outside and have a separate space. And because of everything that's going on in the world right now, I just postponed it about 2 weeks. But when that happens, I'm going to have like set hours of Monday, I do in-person consults. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, I do shoots, things like that. So I have more of a routine and I draw a line between business time and family time.
Yeah. I mean, routine for me has been, I was just commenting about this. Someone had asked in a marketing group, like how they balance life out, and routine was like my eternal, like I have certain days that I take meetings. I have certain days that I do different things. And not that I'm great about always sticking to that, but when I do, man, it's like night and day.
Your life doesn't feel like chaos, right? Of like trying to fit everything in on random times. And
yeah, there's just a lot more control that's there. Has it been tough for you to get women to do boudoir shoots?
No, I guess yes and no. It's been going well enough to the fact that I'm able to be doing this full time as of this point with the apocalypse happening. But I think that being my authentic self has really helped and like educating women on what it is and what it can do for them. And honestly, client referrals are super important to me. I treat my referrals very well as the clients who refer them. I have a good program with that. And I also am so grateful for the women who give model release for any of their pictures that I can use to show other women who write, you know, about their experience and sharing their testimonials, because the biggest, I think, testament to anything is a woman talking about her experience to another woman. Like if they enjoyed it, they get something out of it, and they speak highly of it, then other women are going to trust that.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for my past clients who talk about me and share their experience openly, because that is like life changing for my business changing, I should say. It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see in a boudoir business how referrals would kind of be everything.
Yeah. It's about trust and experience.
For sure. So in regards to growing a business, what kind of wisdom would you have to share with folks? Tips and tricks.
Let's see. Keep reading and learning, even if like it's just a few minutes a day. Being inspired will make you keep going. And then when it's time, you like stand back up, just stand back up, and you're going to fail. And then you stand back up, but it's a lot easier said than done. But I think you're more likely to stand back up if you've been continuously working on professional development. So, you know, you're strong enough to do it, and you know, you're confident enough to keep going. That's, I think, what's really helped me. I mean, I've read You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero twice already, I think since the end of last year. And I'm just like, keep restarting it. And every night that I actually tell myself to read it because I'm so tired, I'm like, just read a little bit. And I just get more fired up. And it helps me to go to bed and be like, okay, I can do this again tomorrow. Like, no matter like what happens, you keep going.
I love that. That's really cool. And what is this book
I'm
again?
preaching. Oh my God. I have it right here.
I'll definitely make sure to put a link in the show notes, folks.
I swear by this book. You Are a Badass, Jen Sincero. She has more, and I've listened to You Are a Badass at Making Money. For you ladies with money issues like me, deep-seated money blocks and imposter syndrome, that's a huge book for you to read or listen to. Like, just blew my mind. Like, and I've been really into the universal energy stuff over the last year. And I can tell you that like it works. Like when you really hone into your instincts and your highest self, that's when you make things happen, because like the universe wants you to be successful and to be the best version of yourself.
Yay. I love that. That's like perfect.
That's like the most spiritual I've ever been.
Well, get ready, girl, because you got another question coming up. Okay, so my last question before we actually jump into the final questions, which doesn't make sense, but what is it about boudoir photography that fulfills your purpose?
I think seeing women, seeing their reactions to themselves. And like, you'll appreciate this with the Anahata, like when they would look in the mirror and like feel good in a swimsuit. It seems so superficial, but when they see their images on the TV after, or on the back of the camera while we're shooting. And I'm like, obviously, and I don't like I don't retouch, but like I professionally retouch images. I don't change bodies. And then especially on the back of the camera, that's the raw photo right there. And I'm showing them, I'm like, by the way, like that's you right now. And that's what you look like all the time. And they can't, it's always, I can't believe that's me. Like, that's not me. And it blows my mind. And I would tell women that I'm not being sarcastic. Like, everyone says that, and every single time it blows my mind, because I'm like, what do you mean you can't believe that's you? Like, everyone who looks at you, this is where I get emotional. Everyone,
I'm like tearing up.
Everyone who looks at you that loves you and knows you in your everyday life, I don't care if you don't usually have your hair and makeup done. I don't care that you're not usually like wearing lingerie. Like, you as a person, that's what they see when they look at you. And that's why everyone tells you how beautiful you are. They're not bullshitting you. It's because you are. For some reason, if it takes them seeing themselves photographed a certain way and going through this brave experience to get that out, then I'm here for it, because we do not see it when we look in the mirror a lot of the times. And it's like, it's so mind-blowing every single time. I didn't cry. It's good. I held it in.
I'm just gonna clap.
It's just photos, but it's not just photos.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as women, again, we are told from like day one that there's something wrong with us. Mm-hmm. We have been conditioned to think there's something broken. Like, no matter how, and like, I'm sure you see this too, but with Anahata, I mean, it didn't matter what like stereotypically gorgeous the woman, a client would be coming in. Like, honestly, those women usually had even more problems than like other women, who are, and when we see ourselves in a different way, and we realize like we can actually catch that glimpse of who we are in other people's eyes, I mean, it's transforming, and it's beautiful.
Because people don't tell you you're like a beautiful person or compliment you just because. Like, the people who know you and love you, they mean it. And so if you're not believing it when they compliment you, like, you got to work on it, because they're not bullshitting you.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, we can't ever take someone else's compliment. We can't ever believe what they say to us until we believe it for ourselves first.
Exactly.
And
guess
things
what?
like
You
this
can say
help.
thank you when you get a compliment. That's all you have to say. You don't have to make an excuse. And I'm guilty of this. I'm really bad at taking compliments. You don't have to say, oh yeah, but, and my favorite meme that I shared recently that I've seen, instead of saying like make an excuse when you get a compliment or just saying thank you should say, oh my God, go on. And then you get more, it's funny, and you get more compliments, but no one does that. And I'm like, you should. And I say that I have not done it yet, but I'm like waiting for the right moment to do it.
This so needs to happen. I am going to try really hard to remember that. Holy
Unexpected. I'm going to compliment you next time I see you in person, just so you can say.
I have to do a hair flip though. Tell me more.
Tell me more.
That is awesome.
People won't know what to do. I hope that you do that soon.
Okay, so we're going to kind of wrap up here, and we're going to wrap up with my 4 closeout questions, which I'm going to be asking all of my guests. So, number 1, what is the one habit that you can't live without?
So I'd be stretching if I said I can't live without it, because I'm not super regimented in my routine, but journaling has become a big part of my life over the last year. So really, if you just take a few minutes and write 3 things you're grateful for, 3, and honestly, that one I'm always like, okay, what can I write that I'm grateful for? But it still helps. But then I try to write 3 reasons why tomorrow is going to be amazing, because I tend to do this before bed. 3 reasons why tomorrow is going to be amazing, and then 3 goals for the next day as well, even if they're little. So getting your mindset, again, just like reading this book before bed, it changes the way you're thinking when you go to sleep and when you wake up.
I love that. So 3 reasons to be thankful. 3
reasons why tomorrow is going to be awesome.
Okay. And then
3 goals for the next day.
Goals. Okay.
Those are my go-tos. And if I feel like writing more, I will, but those are my go-tos.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, what does spirituality mean for you?
Since I'm definitely not a religious person. And so I think, like I said, that's the most spiritual I've been, has been since.
You've been preaching today, girl, for sure.
Yeah, preaching about the universal energy, because it's really opened my eyes that whatever you want to call it, and if you want to call it God, you can call it whatever you want. But I think everything, all of our actions and all of our thoughts, I know they have energy. And so when you can harness that power, it's like the science side of it is crazy. And you can really make things happen for yourself. So it sounds all like magic woo-woo, but it's not, because it's science. And I have honestly manifested things for myself. Like, people have told me about manifesting. I'm like, that's so amazing. That's like magic. And then I actually try to do some things, and I have manifested things this year just by like focusing on them. And so I'm telling everyone, like, everyone can do this. Everyone has the power. So like, make it happen. So again, in that book, it talks a lot about it. The You Are a Badass book. Getting in touch with the universe is, I think, what spirituality means to me.
That's awesome. I love that. Love it. Love it. Okay. I don't want to like spiel into a whole bunch more stuff. So number 3, I have something to say about everything.
No, that's okay. I love that you love it.
What is your advice for someone who's looking to find their purpose?
I would circle back to that first story kind of we started with about what makes you happy as a kid. And even now, like you said, things that made you happy as a kid you might not enjoy now, but it was more of finding the things that makes you forget about time and forget about stress and makes time fly by, because that's what you're meant to be doing. So as far as advice of finding that, I don't have any good advice for that, except just keep trying things until it happens, really.
Oh, I think that's great advice.
Yeah. That's all you can do, right? No one can look at you and be like, I bet you would enjoy this. Yeah.
You are.
or meditating might help with that, though. Again, getting in touch with your, like, the highest version of yourself, and just like letting that information download because it's in you somewhere, but we're so distracted all the time that we can't really get in touch with it until you really let other things, you push it out of the way and be like, okay, I'm ready for it. Tell me. And that's when I think it happens.
Awesome. Yes, I fully agree. And I really like your suggestion to just try different things. I think that's something that, people are afraid of failure. They're afraid of trying. I mean, like this podcast, I had never done a podcast before, but I was like, I've been wanting to do this for years, so I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be raw and kind of like uncut, and I'm going for it just because I want to do this and it's fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other things that I do like that in my life, but I just feel like that's so important for people to just go for it. Just try it.
Exactly.
You don't have to quit your job.
No.
You can start really small.
You can start small. Yeah.
You can like get around other people who do things you like. I mean, like there's a variety of ways of stepping into things.
And I would also say that unless you take a chance and do the thing that's really scary, you're not going to find it either. So it's going to be terrifying, but if it's right, it's going to pay off. It's going to be right, and it'll be worth it. But you have to be scared. You have to be so scared, and it's okay, because that actually makes it way more rewarding too when it works out.
Yes, 1,000%. Again, preaching, and I love it.
This is all just coming to me right now. You must be inspiring me, Anna.
It's all you, girl. Okay, so final questions. Question: where can people connect with you? How can they learn more about Atlantic Boudoir? Like, how can they chase you down online? What's the best way?
Okay, my website is atlanticboudoir.com. I'm on Instagram, Atlantic Boudoir, and on Facebook. And my private Facebook group is for those people that identify as women who are 18 years and older. So if you'd like to be part of that group, you can look up Atlantic Sirens VIP and request to join, and I will happily let you in. So you can be a part of our own little, happy corner of the internet there if you want to be, and kind of stay up to date with that. But yeah, if you want to see my work, probably just best place, follow me on Instagram, and you can visit my portfolio on my website.
And all of those links will definitely be in the show notes for everyone.
Cool.
Make it easy for them to find you.
Yay.
Okay, so now Alisha and I would like to know what part of today's interview resonated with you most. Tag us on Instagram at Anna Hendricks or Atlantic Boudoir, or you can use the hashtag Soul Driven Podcast to share. If today's message resonated with you, please leave me an iTunes review and share Soul Driven with those you love. Don't forget to sign up for the email list to receive fun freebies that will only be given to that list in the upcoming weeks. You'll find this and all the links from today's show from today in the show notes. Thank you so much. Bye, Miss Alisha.
Thank you for having me. So honored.